James, I am so sorry. I think we might be starting a few minutes behind. My computer it is walking so slowly today. I think the internet is tired.
Wait, did you just say your computer is walking slowly? Elena, I think I actually caught you making a mistake for once.
Oh, did I? I was just thinking about my cat, Whiskers. He was walking across my desk all morning, and I guess I have walking on the brain.
Aha! Well, I've been reading up on this. You can't say a computer is walking, even if it's slow. You have to say it isn't running well. I've been trying to run a tight ship with my vocabulary lately, and run is the star of the show.
You are absolutely right, James. That's a great catch. We use run for almost every machine, don't we? My husband always talks about how the city's systems are running, or not running.
Exactly. It's what I call a powerhouse verb. I ran into this fact in a linguistics blog last night. It's like a chameleon. It changes its color and meaning depending on where you put it. It's not just about exercise or jogging with my dog in the park.
I love that. A chameleon word. That is a perfect way to describe it. It's one of those verbs that helps you move from basic English to that functional fluency we always talk about. It makes you sound so much more natural.
Right? I realized I use it when I run out of coffee in the morning or when I'm worried that the podcast is going to run late. It's everywhere.
It really is. How about you, listening at home? Do you feel like you only use run when you're talking about sports, or do you use it for your laptop and your schedule too?
Well, today we are going to unlock the full power of this word. Here is our roadmap. First, we're starting with the B1 basics, the everyday stuff. Then we'll move into the B2 nuance, those clever ways to use it in the office or in conversation. And finally, we'll look at some common idioms.
It's going to be a great episode. And hey, if you want to make sure you never miss a chat with us, make sure to subscribe. It really helps us keep the show going.
Definitely. I'm ready to power through this list. Elena, where should we start?
I love that energy. Let's power through by looking at how run moves from the gym into the office and the home. The first big way we use it is to mean manage or be in charge of. For example, if someone has their own company, we say they run a business.
I see. So it's like they're the engine making everything move. My friend actually runs a small bakery downtown, and he is always exhausted because he's basically running the show by himself from 5 a.m.
Exactly. He is the manager, the person making the decisions. You can even use it for smaller things, like running a meeting or running an errand. My neighbor, Mrs. Gable, she's 80 years old. She still runs a weekly gardening club in our community center. She's the boss.
That's impressive. I don't think I'm organized enough to run a club. I'd probably run the risk of forgetting to tell everyone when the meeting is. I'm much better at the other run, the one about health.
Oh? You mean when your body's temperature goes up?
Yes. Last month, I felt terrible. I was running a fever of 101 degrees. I felt like I was melting into my sofa. Why do we say run a fever instead of have a fever?
That's a great question. In English, we often use run for things that are active or changing state. A fever isn't just a static thing, it's your body actively working. It feels more dynamic. But James, speaking of being stuck on the sofa, did you have everything you needed?
Not at all. I run out of tissues in about 2 hours. That's the worst part of being sick, realizing you have a supply chain problem.
That's the perfect phrasal verb. Run out of. It just means you have nothing left. I always run out of patience when I'm stuck in traffic. How about you, listening at home? Is there something you always run out of at the most inconvenient time? Coffee, phone battery, bread?
For me, it's always the battery on my headphones right when I'm getting into a good song. It's not just a run-of-the-mill problem, it's a daily struggle. I guess I need to start running my life a bit more efficiently.
We all do, James. Using run this way makes your English sound much more functional. It moves you away from just jogging and into operating your life.
Operating my life. I wish. Most days, Elena, it feels like my life is operating me, and I'm just trying to keep up. But honestly, speaking of things moving quickly, I've noticed that when I'm at work, people use run in much more specific ways. It's not just about managing a business anymore. It gets a bit more nuanced.
You are totally right. Once you move past the basics, run becomes a tool for talking about time and professional feedback. It's where the B2 level really starts to shine. What's been confusing you lately?
Well, the other day, I told my boss I'm running late because I was stuck in traffic, but then I heard him tell a client we are running behind schedule on the project. Is there actually a difference, or is he just trying to sound fancy?
He might be trying to sound fancy, but there is a small difference. When you say you are running late, it's usually about you as a person. You aren't at the place you should be yet. But when we use running behind, we're usually talking about a schedule or a list of tasks. It means the progress is slower than the plan.
Oh, so if I'm sitting at my desk, but I haven't finished my reports yet, I'm not running late because I'm already there. I'm running behind because the work is taking too long.
Exactly. You've got it. It's a subtle shift, but using running behind makes you sound much more professional. It shows you're thinking about the timeline, not just the clock. How about you, listening at home? Do you find yourself running late for appointments or running behind with your chores on the weekend?
I'm definitely both. I'm running behind on my laundry as we speak. But another one that tripped me up was when my colleague asked if I could run an idea by me. I thought he wanted to race to the coffee machine.
That's a classic. To run something by someone just means to tell them your idea to see what they think. You want their opinion or approval before you move forward. I do this all the time with my husband, Mark. I'll run a new recipe by him before I cook it for a dinner party.
That makes sense. I actually did that this morning. I ran a new plan by my wife, Emily. She's the organized one in the house, and she told me it was a terrible idea. Saved me a lot of trouble in the long run.
Smart move. It's better to run into trouble in a conversation than in real life. And there's one more professional way we use it. When we talk about technology or processes, we often run a test or run a check.
Right, like when my computer is acting weird and I have to run a virus scan. I'm not actually doing the scanning, the computer is. I'm just making it happen.
Exactly. It's what we call a causative sense. You are starting the process. Whether you're running a diagnostic on a car or running a trial for a new software, you're the one in control of the start button.
It's amazing how this one little word covers everything from my messy morning schedule to a high-tech computer lab. It really is a chameleon.
It really is a chameleon, James. And because it's so flexible, run shows up in some of the most common idioms we use every single day. I thought for our idiom spotlight today, we could look at two that are especially useful for your career and your personal goals.
Oh, I love this part. Even if I usually mix them up and say something like hit the run hitting, I really want to get these right. What's the first one on the list?
The first one is in the long run. It's a phrase we use when we're talking about the ultimate result of something over a long period of time. It's about looking at the big picture instead of just what is happening right now.
Ah, okay. So it's not actually about running a long distance like a marathon.
Not quite. Think of it like an investment. For example, my niece, Sophie, she's only 7, sometimes she complains about having to brush her teeth. I tell her, Sophie, I know it's boring now, but in the long run, you'll be so happy you have healthy teeth.
Ah, okay, I see. It's about the future benefit. I actually used this logic recently with my car. It needed a really expensive repair, and I was tempted to just ignore it. But I realized if I fixed it now, it would save me thousands of dollars in the long run because the engine wouldn't explode.
That is a very practical example. An exploding engine is definitely something to avoid. How about you, listening at home? Is there something you're doing right now, maybe studying these English idioms, that feels like hard work, but you know will pay off in the long run?
I bet learning English is the ultimate in the long run project. It opens so many doors. Now, what about that second one? You mentioned something about hitting the ground.
Yes, to hit the ground running. This is a favorite in offices and businesses. It means to start a new project or a new job with a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and to be successful from the very first moment.
I've heard that one in movies, like when a new boss walks into the room and says, "We have a lot to do, so I expect everyone to hit the ground running."
Exactly. It means there's no time for a slow start. When I first started my job as a teacher, I wanted to hit the ground running, but honestly, I was so nervous, I mostly just hit the ground and felt stuck. It took me a few weeks to really find my pace.
I feel you. I'm usually the same way. When I started my fitness plan last month, I told everyone I was going to hit the ground running. I bought the shoes, the watch, the fancy water bottle, and then I sat on the porch and watched my dog, Barnaby, chase his tail for an hour.
Well, at least Barnaby was hitting the ground running. But that's the thing. We often use this idiom to describe a high expectation. If you're hiring someone and you say, I need someone who can hit the ground running, you're saying you don't have much time to train them.
That makes sense. It's about being ready and prepared. So if I want to sound like a pro in my next interview, I should tell them I'm ready to hit the ground running?
Absolutely. It shows you are proactive. It's a great way to signal that you're a hard worker.
I definitely want to sound like a hard worker, Elena, but I think I need to practice a bit more before I actually try that in a real meeting. I don't want to say the wrong thing and have everyone looking at me like I've got two heads.
I feel you. It takes a little while to get the hang of these, but once you do, it feels great. Why don't we do a quick check-in, a little challenge for you and for everyone listening?
I love a challenge. It helps me see if I'm actually catching on. Okay, I've got 3 sentences. I'll say them this simple way, and you and our listeners have to change them using a run phrase. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'll give a short pause so everyone at home can try to shout the answer at their phone or computer first.
Perfect. Here is the first one. Instead of saying, I manage a small team at my office, how would you say that with run?
Give it a thought. Okay, I would say, I run a small team at my office. It sounds so much more direct, right?
Exactly. It makes you sound like the person in charge. Okay, second one. This happens to me every morning with my cereal. Instead of we have no more milk left, what do we say?
This is a classic phrasal verb. You'd say, we have run out of milk. I say that at least 3 times a week.
Totally. My wife Emily is always telling me that because I forget to check the fridge. Okay, last one. This is the office one. Instead of saying, please tell me your plan so I can check it, how do we use run?
This one is so useful for being polite but professional. You'd say, please run your plan by me. It shows you want to collaborate.
Spot on. I'm starting to feel like I can really keep up with these conversations now. How about you, listening at home? Did you manage to transform all 3? If you did, you are definitely playing it safe with your fluency.
I'm sure they did great. Now, before we finish, I want to look back at some of the other great words we used today. It's time for our vocabulary corner. Exhausted. Exhausted. This is a common way to say you are extremely tired, both physically and mentally. It's more than just being a little sleepy.
I was completely exhausted after I spent the whole day cleaning out my doom drawer in the kitchen.
That is a big job. I often feel exhausted after a long day of teaching and answering so many questions. Nuance. Nuance. This refers to a very small or subtle difference in meaning, feeling, or sound. It's those tiny details that change how we understand something.
I'm starting to notice the nuance between running late and running behind now that you explained it.
When you listen to music, you can often hear the nuance in how a singer expresses a certain emotion. Proactive. Proactive. This describes a person who creates or controls a situation by making things happen rather than just waiting for things to happen to them.
I tried to be proactive by buying a new pack of tissues before I got sick, but I still ran out.
My husband, Mark, is very proactive about his bird watching. He checks the weather and the migration maps every single night. Static. Static. This means something that is staying the same, not moving, or not changing. We used it to talk about how a fever is the opposite of this.
My weight has been pretty static lately, which is frustrating because I've been trying to go to the gym more.
Sometimes a conversation can feel a bit static if neither person has any new stories to share. To trip someone up. To trip someone up. This means to cause someone to make a mistake, often by being confusing or difficult.
The irregular verbs in English always seem to trip me up when I'm tired.
I think that tricky question on the exam was designed specifically to trip the students up. Subtle. Subtle. This is used for something that is not loud, bright, or noticeable. It is very delicate or quiet.
There was a subtle smell of cinnamon in the bakery that made me want to stay there all day.
I like wearing colors that are very subtle, like soft grays or light blues, rather than bright neon. We have covered so much ground today, James. From running a business to running out of tissues, run really is the ultimate chameleon word for an intermediate learner.
It really is. I feel like I'm finally starting to wind down now, though. My brain has reached its capacity for new vocabulary for at least the next hour.
I understand. But before we finish, I have one last thing for you and for everyone listening at home, the Daily Sprint Challenge.
Wait, a sprint? Does that mean I actually have to put on my sneakers and go outside? Because I'm quite cozy right here.
No, physical running not required. My challenge is this. Try to use the word run in a non-physical context at least once today. Maybe you tell a coworker you are running low on time, or you run an idea by a friend during dinner. How about you, James? Can you commit to that?
I can definitely do that. I'll probably run into a chance to use it while I'm talking to my wife, Emily, later. She's always the one who helps me practice.
That's the spirit. And to everyone listening, remember, fluency is a marathon, not a sprint. It is okay if you don't remember every single idiom right away. The important thing is that you keep showing up and listening.
Exactly. It's all about the progress you make in the long run. And hey, if you want to make sure you stay on track with your marathon, please subscribe to the show. It really helps us keep the podcast running and brings us a little closer to you each week.
We truly appreciate the support. It makes these chats so much more special knowing you are all out there practicing with us.
Well, I'm off to check the kitchen. I think I might have run out of those chocolate biscuits I was saving for a vocabulary emergency. If the plate is empty, I'm blaming the dog.
Good luck with your search, James. Goodbye, everyone, and happy practicing.
Bye, everyone. See you in the next one.